Good evening. The housing problem, for all the good intentions, is still with us, and it's particularly bad in Wales. 30% of houses in Britain were built before 1919, but in Wales the figure is 43%. That's almost 500,000 houses. During the next 10 to 20 years, large numbers of people will have to be rehoused as their aging homes can no longer be repaired. The situation is already bad. 153,000 houses are unfit or substandard because of structural defects, damp, or the lack of basic amenities. And 24,000 are beyond repair. But the problem of unfit housing is not confined to the older properties. We've been looking at the problems of a modern estate.
Come look at the giant's graveyard if your stomach's good and strong. Don't mind the stench of rubbish, you won't be here for long. Don't bring your forms for us to fill, or tell us what went wrong, or make a promise you can't keep. We have had that all along.
Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ and thou shalt be saved.
The children don't cry around here no more. It's a sad fact of life. Officials have put their stamp on us, a contract with no rights. Saltings, you have no soul, and you have done your worst to mine. And if I can't remember being young, I'll remember growing old. They've put us here together, a kind of master plan. They know where they can find us if blame is due for wrong. My brother wishes he was dead, a child of only 10. If we all don't get away from here, Saltings wins again.
We started off 3 years ago as a crack, and this is what have happened now, like, because they've neglected it. And they said in the beginning it would go like this, and it have, see? And, well, in the winter now, when it's raining, all this year is full of saucepans. And the water and the plaster just runs down, and all the concrete goes over the carpet and everything, and it's all really terrible, like. And, like the children don't climb. The children now, I mean, you can see all the nails in the windows there because the children climb in. You know, because I woke up one morning, like, and one of them was hanging out the window, see, talking to somebody down there, so I just nailed them all up. Well, there's no way they're going to rehouse me because, well, I mean, my mother was down here 15 years, so, I mean, there's no chance I'm going to get out there, is there? And I got another baby on the way, like, and the health visitor and everything. So, I don't know what's going to happen.
That girl is minding me,
yeah? Yeah, I know.
And the cricket
yes, you can't go to play, love, you're too small.
So, I
don't know what's going to happen, like.
So what kind of problems you got in this state, then?
Well, you've got some glue sniffing, you've got, well, drunkenness, and sometimes fighting and arguments over children, and also, you know, different other varieties because of the door-to-door situation. You know, when people living door-to-door, that is a problem in itself.
You've had some quite frightening fights there, haven't you?
Well, yes, there was one, back early, latter part of last year, there was one bad one over in the corner, yeah, where the police were involved, and it was quite a bad one actually then. One boy had numerous amount of stitches in his face owing to the fight, and other injuries as well, you know, bruises and such, you know. But we have had other fights on the green, and you know, not only men, women and all, you know, fight one another.
The lady upstairs, she's had her money taken, gas meters. electricity meters. The lady downstairs, a new video, only had about a fortnight, I think, they'd purchased it. When there's no one in the block, they force the front door. But also, these young boys, they're very fit, very strong. They climb up the back. They can go up those banisters like monkeys. I've seen it done.
Knock the whole lot down, I think, is the answer. After all, it's not fair to the people. I stayed in these flats for a very short period of time and had a little taste of what it's like to stay 1 or 2 nights. And this horrified me, and I would never choose to live here. And I wouldn't wish anybody else to live in a place of this nature.
The Saltings and nearby Hale Morfa were built by Neath Borough Council in the late 50s when high-rise was a fashionable answer to housing problems. Since then, many tower blocks all over the country have had to be taken down because of building faults and decay. Neath was the first council in Wales to go for this design. Now they want to demolish them because that's cheaper than the cost of repair.
Well, the problem is that we are faced with a very big cost here at present to bring these flats up to what we want to bring them up, to install rubbish chutes, to install central heating, and also to do the necessary repairs, because we find that while the structures are sound, we have certain flakings with cement. It means that the water seeps in places, we're creating dampness, and also because of the lack of central heating, we suffer quite a lot of condensation. Cost-wise, to do this work would cost us £1.25 million. And you realise £1.25 million with the present day cutbacks is a lot of money as far as this borough is concerned. The other thing is this, because the area had a stigma created, we don't know how, the people now, if they're offered a flat here, are very reluctant to take it. In fact, although we have a very big housing problem in Neath, a very big homeless problem in Neath, people who are homeless are refusing to come down this area to live.
The backbone of the communities which developed in Wales up to the Second World War was terraced housing. In the late 40s and 50s, there was pressure on councils to clear the older terraces and rehouse people. Planners and architects favoured high-rise developments because they could house more people in limited space. Neath's Saltings project in the Giant's Grave area of Britton Ferry was appraised by the government. Councillor Emmanuel has served the area for 49 years. He was on the council when the decision was made to build the flats.
We were very short of land at that time. We looked for land in other areas, neighbouring authorities. They were unable to do a deal with us. We looked for land in other parts where the Agricultural Committee of its day and age said it was reserved without any reservation at all for agricultural land. So consequently, we had to do something about building. So all we could do then, we look, what could we do? We had this place and we thought, well, in the last analysis, if we go on building here, then of course that might solve our problem.
The flat's environment hasn't been improved by a council rubbish tip, which is now just 50 yards from the back windows. 208 families live in the blocks that face demolition. They're 5, 6 and 7 stories high. They were built without central heating, and the refuse still has to be taken down the lift or stairs. Planners had to site the flats near Moorland because that was one of the few suitable places they could find.
The demand in the years immediately after the war was enormous for housing, and the local authorities were being pressed by government, central government, to make rapid provision. There was a backlog from before the war, and the slum clearance and rehousing didn't restart until the middle 1950s. And about the time that we were engaged in the Giant's Grave site, the waiting list was, I believe, about 3,500 families.
Government policy encouraged building high-rise flats, with every floor above 4 stories getting a subsidy.
In the Britton Ferry area, the only sites remaining were on the Giant's Grave estate. I started with two-storey houses, but it soon became apparent that the originally intended layout for more or less formal arrangement of two-storey dwellings just wouldn't cope, and we weren't getting any more land, nor were we getting clearance of sites to enable redevelopment on old sites to take place. So the council were faced with the problem, and it wasn't common to Neath, it happened in so many other places. And there was an encouragement by the government to go in for high-density housing, to the extent that if you went over, I think it was 4 stories, you got a special subsidy.
Were the flats regarded as a model by other authorities?
I think they were. There's no doubt there were quite a number of authorities who sent deputations to look over them during construction and towards the end of construction. And they were not only quite pleased with the arrangement and design of the flats, but with the siting and the setting with the large playground area in the middle. And indeed, the architects of the Welsh office were very enthusiastic about them. They regarded the project as something of a pioneer project. I must say the council were given every encouragement.
In a report in 1957, Douglas Bailey outlined the pros and cons of building the flats. He warned that maintaining community spirit was essential. Therefore, greater skill and insight is needed in allocating flats to tenants than in allocating houses.
My mother's home is ravaged, the walls turn black with damp, and my father sits and wonders who he has to thank. Authorized people only, allowed to live around here. No reference is needed, just hopelessness and fear.
The inside of that bin now is infested now with eggs from the flies, you see.
They come from the tip, do they?
From the tip, yeah. You see, all they've always infested down there. Look at the seagulls on there now, look. Thousands of them. But they're living on filth, you see, and meat and everything you would think of. Such as the fly, you see. But the flies don't breed down there, they breed in the houses, you see.
So you've got flies in the summer, and what problems have you got in the winter?
Well, the winter, of course, well, you can see this all this year now, see? Yeah?
It's damp.
Dampness, you see, and it's coming in here. I got a bucket here now to catch it, you see. Put it a little closer than I can here, you see. What misses then comes right down, you see, and right down here, you see.
In this room, I'm paying £19.04, and look at the state of it. It's soaking wet of dampness. And in this room, the wall, there's a big crack in the wall, and I've got asthma, I've had a heart attack, and I'm a sugar diabetes, and it's soaking wet.
This is a vandalised flat. You can come and see for yourself. I will show you. This is what they done. This is what happened to the flat after the tenant left, 3 months ago. You can see that this has been damaged, the windows, the doors here, the walls, the paper is coming off the walls, either through damp or condensation, one or the other. And this is how it is now, as you see it today. So then you come in through here, they take the light switches off, and in here is the meters, which we do get a lot of stealing, gas meters, electric. As you notice, this is a new box. About 6 months ago, I was called to this flat when the tenant lived here, and there was a coin meter here, and it was totally ripped off the wall, leaving the bare wires and everything. And this was at 12 o'clock midnight. And I had to get out the authorities to come and fix it before the tenant had to move back in.
Well, the children, well, as I say, now that they put fire to my door, they stuffed rag in it, but they stuck the door first. They stuck the door first, then put rag in my door, put a match to it, so that I couldn't get out, and I couldn't get out.
I would say that people are unfair. Frankly, I don't know what's going to happen to me after this lot. When it's well known that I've put a petition about regarding the noise, I may have a brick through my window.
Quite a few that are doing time, yes, quite a lot. And for the petty things, mainly, you know, a bit of stealing or things like that, you know, from the tips and brass and copper and what have you, like. There are ones gone in now, young ones have gone in from, well, 10-year-old to 12, 13-year-olds. They go into care, you know, and for certain things that they do, but it's a problem. It's a problem for them, you know, with one-parent families. It's quite a problem for them. Of course, rubbish again is a problem because they throw it from the top, where of course there are no chutes here, and they've got the lifts to fetch it down, but more often than not they throw it over from the back.
If the repair problems aren't enough, the residents are further hampered by poor facilities. The Co-op supermarket will close in 2 weeks' time because it's uneconomical. That will leave just 2 small shops. The nearest shopping centre will be a mile away. There is no pub, club, bank or entertainment centre. The surgery is a long walk. In an area with 20% unemployment, there's little work.
Clearly, the problem estates are well known, but in many ways there's something peculiarly Welsh, I think, about some of the estates like this one. Because in Wales we seem often to give people good quality housing, and this housing, when it started, one must laud the attempts to give people good quality housing like here. It was good standard stuff. In Wales we often give them this good quality housing, but then it's rather as if we don't necessarily, we're rather worried about what we've done. We don't necessarily want to give people something for nothing. We allocate them a bad environment, a rather unpleasant location. We segregate them off into a separate area. We're ambivalent, I think, about people and the housing estates in South Wales. We want them to have the better housing, yet almost in some ways we want them to feel a certain amount of punishment and be separate from the rest of us.
Apart from the vandalised concrete playground, there are no facilities for the children. For 2 weeks during the summer holidays, the local community association runs a play scheme with the help of an urban aid grant. The only building they have is a wooden shed owned by the local boys club. This also doubles up as a small bingo hall at weekends.
Alcatraz.
Go to Chicago, they go to New York, anything at all.
What
just named as a dump or so. Hey, everybody down here knows. People outside just call it, well, just don't want to know about the things down here.
Why are the police down here so often?
Well, they come around just because his boys come out of prison, you know, or being put away, things like that. Normally come down here to live because they haven't got nowhere else to go.
You get a party and they're all coming out there steaming about 4 o'clock in the morning. I think that's the blooming boxing ring out the middle, out there, on the grass like there.
Why is this? Have people got things to do or what?
So I think this is the bow place, like, strongbow place. Everybody's on the bow.
A lot of people drink, do they? What about glue sniffing? Was there also a glue sniffing around here?
Yeah.
Well, a hell of a lot. Hell of a lot of glue sniffing. Well, there's nothing else for them to do.
What about the noise you make? Did you think of the other residents?
Well,
they do it to us,
you got to do it back. If you don't do it back, you can't live down there, can you, really?
What do you mean, do it back?
Well, say on a Tuesday now there's a party going on somewhere else. Say up at the top of Elamova, you hear the music from up there. It's just like a canyon. Just vibrates everywhere.
So you do have late parties here?
Well, say you went up there like Tuesday now, and their music is blaring away. You got to have one down here and to get them back, like. Because if you don't, there's something wrong with you. I'd like to sell if I fared my own way and they give me hammer and chisel, I'd get an old gang and pull them down myself.
I think I might be wrong.
Where would you go though?
Anywhere except this place.
There's plenty of bricklayers off working it. You get those bricklayers together, you got plenty of work, haven't they? Plasterers, painters off work, electricians off work. So all you got to do is buy land. And there's plenty of land to buy.
How much of a problem would rehousing pose you because of your waiting lists?
It would create certain problems because within the last month, our waiting list has gone up 50. I think the actual numbers now are in the region of 1,210, something like that.
Because the people who live here say it's pointless you knocking them down at the moment because they can't go anywhere.
Well, we can't. We can't do this until we make a firm decision. Once we've made a firm decision and we've adopted our policy statement, obviously then we will not let any flats. The flats will have to remain empty, and we would try and decant people the best method we could so as we could start on a complete demolition.
But it could be, even though you've taken the decision to knock them down, it could be that they'll still be up here for the next few years.
Oh yeah, this is true.
Well, it looked all right when they were first opened, because like every new building, it looked first class then. And in fact, some of them look excellent now inside. Interiorly, some of them are remarkably good.
Why do you think it deteriorated then?
Well, age, of course, is one. And of course, well, one could say that people got fed up with living in this kind of environment, and one thing led to another, and gradually there was and still is a deterioration of the whole area.
So do you think you made a mistake as a housing committee?
Maybe in hindsight we did.
Something has to be done about them, there's no doubt about that. But when they will do anything about them, God knows.
I've lived in the Neath area for 20 years and knew very little of this area. But there came a challenge one day when God opened doors for me to come and work in this area, and I accepted that challenge from God, and I've never looked back. Yes, there have been some terrible experiences, but some of those sad experiences are when people just give up on life and commit suicide, and even we've seen some questionable cases as to how they met their death, and I think this is very sad.
We've learnt a lot, I think, from estates like this from the 50s, and particularly we've learnt a lot from the estates of the 60s. I think now there's much more emphasis on community facilities. There's much more emphasis on trying to give an estate in its early years a full range of people, key workers as well as the more deprived sections. There's much more emphasis now on social work and group work on estates. There's the hope now, not obviously in an estate like this, but the hope on some estates that people will purchase their houses and therefore gain a degree of power over their lives. We've learnt, I think, yes, and it's lessons like this that have made us learn.
Well, we've learnt one thing, that we'll never build, if necessary, above 2 stories.
Now go back to your office and tell them what you've seen. A nightmare of depression built upon their dreams. Don't bring your forms for us to fill or tell us what went wrong, or make a promise you can't keep. We've had that all along.
This week, the Council's Housing Subcommittee recommended the salting should be pulled down, but the questions of when and how remain unresolved. It's a matter of some urgency, but it should be tackled in a way which avoids the disasters of the 50s and the 60s. There must be no more saltings, which simply add to Wales's critical housing problems.